My dear friends, we're going to start today with the second chapter of the history of Croatia and its link with Western culture. It's a pleasure for me to go on. The content today is we're going to go from the death of Alexander the Great to the recognition of the Kingdom of Croatia on the 10th century. These were the conquests of Alexander that we left at the end of chapter 1. And remember that this great empire was divided into his diadochi, into his generals, and they began to fight one each other. So, in a few time, they were really very weak. We have Illyria, or Illyria, Hellenized Illyria. You see the coins here with the that demonstrates the evolution of cattle here. They dedicated to the breeding of cattle. We talked about this in the last chapter, so this is where we left her here, and this may be a star constellation, maybe the Taule. But the important thing is that after 200 years of war, approximately circa 167 before Christ, the Romans will pass this very difficult place because the people from Istria were very hard fighters. So even if the Romans had arrived before to this region, they couldn't beat the Istria until the year 167 before Christ. They brought the Latin alphabet, and this is one of the reasons that the Croatian language is written with the Latin alphabet. Not only the one, but it's one of the reasons. Here they arrived. The other reason is the separation of the Roman Empire. We're going to see them today. So the Romans invaded approximately in this year, and with them they brought construction of roads and highways, social and state organization, navigation, fishing, and development of vines, olives, citrus fruits, etc. They were very practical people, but they were, by the way, Hellenized by the Greek culture. The Greek culture surprised, and they fall in love with it. So they adopted a lot of things from the Greeks. Here's the moment in the time of Trajan where they have the biggest territory. You see, Britannia, they have north of Africa. This is the moment in which the Empire Roman became the most territory they had. So we arrived to the moment where there is a period in Roman history. This is a period called the Illyrian emperors. Emperors born in Illyria. Remember that Illyria is going to be mostly Croatia. Also other countries nowadays, but Croatia were very strong related with Illyrians. I said 12, and here we have 13, because Septimius Severus was not born in Illyria, but he came from the Pannonia. When he was designed emperor, he was the inferior Pannonia governor, and all his guards were Dalmatians. So when he arrived to Rome, he brought all his Dalmatian guards, and in a certain point of view was the arrival to the power of Dalmatians. All of these emperors over here were born in territory that is going to become afterwards Croatia. The most important of these emperors, there were two very important emperors. Probus. Probus is important because he is considered father of enology and father of gastronomy. Father of enology because he sent to plant native Croatian grape varieties in Gaul, in France, in the region of Provence, Rhone Valley, and Bordeaux. These grape varieties that he sent to plant, he did it because one of his predecessors, Emperor Domitianus, destroyed and sent to burn all the vines in those regions. By the other point of view, he's considered also a father of gastronomy because during his period was a great development of culinary activities. He dedicated after military action, securing its borders, he dedicated to the construction of aqueducts, bridges, channels, and highways. Here's the Rhone Valley with variety called by the French Viognier. The Viognier is the same Bugava from the Isle of Vis. This island of Vis was called Isa by Greeks and Romans, and the studies of DNA determined that the French variety Viognier is the same Bugava and it descends from the Bugava. So the other important emperor from the Illyrian origin was Diocletianus. Diocletianus governed for 20 years. He was elected by his soldiers, and he gained or regained Roman splendors because he won a victory over the Persians. Victory over the Persians meant gold, silver, and slaves. He enacted human laws. It is therefore surprising that at the end of his reign, he cruelly persecuted Christians. And by the way, he was also the first Roman emperor to abdicate and retire to his palace, which afterwards was going to become the heart of the city of Split. This is Argenteus, or they're called Denarius Argenteus, but that's another story, because he regained also the silver, great quantity of silver, percentage of silver on the coin. So we see his image over there. This is a picture of what it was the palace of Diocletianus, where he retired. Afterwards, the city of Split was going to be constructed by the size of this palace. Here's the location, the approximately location of Split. Related with Diocletian or Diocletianus, there are two things very interesting: the formation of the Republic of San Marino and an edict of fair prices, and the obligation to mark the coins according to the mint that produced them. These are called mint marks. Let us talk very briefly about these two facts. First of all, Marinus was living in Rap, the island of Raps. He was a Christian, very devoted Christian, and he had a lot of followers. So when Diocletianus began the raid against Christians, he decided to go across the Adriatic and go to Rimini. In Rimini, there was a lady known because also was a very devoted Christian and helped him and told him, go inside the country. I have a lands here, over here. Go to those lands and stay there because they are not going to arrive Roman soldiers to take you in jail. So he went there. But the lady's son became very, very angry because of this reason. So he had an ictus, and then the lady called Marinus, who imposed the hands and cured, supposedly cured, this patient. And because of this same lady told Marinos, those lands are yours, keep them. And Marinos founded the Republic of San Marino. He became a saint afterwards, and then he founded the Republic of San Marino. What's the source of this information? The source of this information is the page, the official page of the Republic of San Marino. Here's the castle, and all the nearbys over here are also Republic of San Marino, all these places nearby. The other reason why Diocletianus is famous is because of this. These points you see here are the means, are the places where the coins were produced. And the second one in importance was this one over here. The first one, of course, was Rome, and the second one, by the time of Diocletianus, was Sicya. Sicya. We're going to see afterwards there is the actual Sisak. And here we have a coin from Sicya in these years. You see a coin that it says here SIS. When these mints began to mark them with their name, Diocletianus liked it, and he ordered everyone that produced coins had to mark them with a personal, with a symbol, with someone that demonstrates that it came from there. So he would have quality control. Here is Sisak, the location of the city nowadays. There's not much ruins, much Roman ruins in Sicya or Sisak, because afterwards they came the Avars. We're going to see them, and destroyed everything. There was nothing kept, or very few things kept, of Roman period in Sisak. But it was a very important place, very important. Second in the coins productions after Rome. Here you see the mint marks arrived till our days. You see here a penny, American penny, with an S, San Francisco. There's a big piece of 8 reales from Bolivia. Here says Potosí, PTS. Here you have New Orleans with the O. And here you have a mark that implies the mint mark from Maracay in Venezuela. Here we have some things left from those periods. We have this, the Apoxiomenos means sportman, found in the sandbank in the Mali lozenge, is in the coast in Croatia. Found in 1966, absolutely restored, and remains in a museum nearby in the coast, in Mali lozenge. From those periods we have ruins, especially in Pula, the temple of Augustus, the first Roman emperor. Here you see. And we have the very known amphitheater in Pula from the 1st century, constructed at the same time that the Roman Colosseum. And these places in the inside are very near the Romans. The public, it kept 22,000 people. The Roman amphitheater kept 60,000, but they had another was higher, but not the center. The center were more or less the same, Roman and Pula's amphitheater. You can see here the size when you see the cars, and in the next picture when you see people here. Also in Porridge, this basilica, Euphraxian Basilica, from the 3rd and 4th centuries, is a basilica during those periods that Byzantines kept here. This is a Byzantine structure in the Porridge. And we arrive to the division of the empire. And this is very important to remember. When the empire was divided, Croatia is here. Croatia stayed here in the Western Empire. The Eastern Empire is going to become the Byzantine Empire, and here is going to be the Occidental Empire. It's going to be destructed very quickly. Instead of the Byzantine, it's going to last a few more centuries. Instead, this is going to be attacked and destroyed. Here you see once again a better picture. Here, you see in this size, always in gray, the limits or the shadow of the Croatian territory. Here you can see on the right, you can see the Byzantine Empire. The division of the Roman Empire shows the end of the Ancient Age and the beginning of the Middle Ages. From that point, the Occidental Empire is going to be attacked by peoples. The most important of these attacks were, first of all, the Goths. The Goths ruled here in the regions of Croatia, Italy, southern France, and Spain. They were called Ostrogoths, that means Goths from the east, and Visigoths, that is called Goths from the west. They also went to the north and got these places. Also the Huns, also Asians, which operation center was the Hungarian plain, but they went, you see, here is Croatia. They didn't touch Croatia, unless when they were coming back from Aquileia, just getting by the north. But they weren't important in the history of Croatia. They arrived in the Catalonian plains over here, in the Champagne regions, where Attila was defeated, and he came back. And another Asiatic people, Asia, that also had as an operation center the Hungarian plain, and they developed from the 6th to the 8th centuries, well, the Avars. These people are going to be very important in the development of Croatia. These people destroyed Sirmium and Salona in these years, so the population was scared and refuged on the coast. And that's the way that these cities were formed. City of Split with the name of Spalatum, city of Zadar with the name of Jadera, and city of Dubrovnik, here is the I, with the word of Ragusa. In this map shows you the advance of the Avars. Destroyed here Salona, here destroyed Sirmium, and this emperor over here, the Byzantine emperor, he wanted, let us see here, let's talk, this is Salona ruins. This once again is a picture of the Avars arriving to the region, and this is where they came from. They came from the East Asian steppe, and they are considered one of the fastest long-distance migration in history. In a few years, they came 5,000 kilometers. Facial reconstruction of these people. See, they were Mongols. They were absolutely Mongols. So here were the Avars. The territory that's going to be Croatian in the future. Here you have the Byzantine emperor that is in a war, in a very long war, more than 40 years against the Sasanian or Neo-Persians. Sasanians or Neo-Persians. So he was in this long war, and he couldn't do nothing over here. He couldn't really go to war against the Avars. That's why this emperor is going to make the arrivals of the Croatians. How? The Croatians were here, south of Poland, southeast of Germany, northern of Carpathian Mountains. Very famous by being strong people, very famous of their cavalry, and known as an undefeated people. So Heraclius was told to invite emperor, go on and invite these Croats over there, so these people may defeat the Avars. So he did so. And Croatian villages towards southern Poland, as I told you in the picture, in the before picture, went south, defeated the Avars, and guaranteed the Domitian authority over these lands. Was given this guarantee by Heraclius. This happened in the year 626. Here's a picture which showed that Croatians went south. They were not navigators, so when they arrived to the coast, they decided to go to the inside country and took all these people at the south and west of the Drina River and all these territories at south of the Drava River. How do we know this? Because this Constantine VII, Porphyrogenitus, he wrote, he was a writer, he was an emperor who was a writer. And some centuries later, he told the story by which the Croats migrated after an offer of Heraclius, and led by 5 brothers, 3 of them male and 2 of them female, they came from the north of the Carpathians. This is an oil on canvas of Oton Ivekovic that shows brothers and sisters. I like more very similar drawings of Fedor Kikeres, that I think I have it in my presentation in the beginning of this work. Where did these people, these first Croats, came from? Who were they? Who were they? Well, there are 3 theories. One of them that's only a branch of Slavic people. Another one that were Gothic, Germanic people. There are very important archaeological findings that support this theory near Sarajevo. There's another theory that they come from Persian, because there's a lot of words that look Persians, like Ban, that means great lord, and the second of the king is called Divisarwa, is called Ban in Croatian. Bog is gold, and Java is devil. So these similar works in Persian, and there are also archaeological findings that show maybe an antique Persian origin, of course, of those Persians from Darius I, those Persians before Alexander the Great. So maybe the truth is not in any of this theory, but in a mix of all of them. We return to the situation. Now there are not more the Avars here. They've been thrown up to what's now Hungary. And here arrived these Croatians. After this great and long war that the Byzantines had against the Sasanians, they were so weak that when Mohammed told to go on in a sand war, in the jihad, they easily got Persia, Armenia, Northern Africa, and mostly Spain and south of France. They didn't have a lot to fight, really. They were very weak, the surroundings, and they had a very strong message through religion. But these people were not what nowadays is the Islam. In those moments, they were very developed, very, very developed in arts, in culture, also in philosophy. They've been translating all the philosophy Greek books into the Arab. And in the meantime, here, in our side, in the Central America, it's going to be developed the Mayan culture. Well, it began to develop in the 1500 before Christ, but it arrived to the greatest development between the 500 and 700 of our era, Anno Domini. They were very famous in astronomy and very famous in mathematics and in constructions because of the construction of these pyramids. And in the meanwhile, Vítězslav, year 800, converts to Christianity, and it's going to, every day it's going to get more and more in connection with the Church of Rome. It's going to become a duchy, even if depending on the empire of Charlemagne. It means on the Franks. They were formerly a duke depending on the empire of Charlemagne. On the year 812, there was a treaty of Aachen signed between Charlemagne and Michael I, Byzantine, in which the territory of Croatia is going to be divided. The coast at the south of Zadar, depending on Byzantium, and the Duchy or Ducat of Christian Croatia, depending on the Franks. But it's not going to last a lot, see? In the year 825, Terpimir is going to found the Terpimirovich dynasty, and he's founding the Terpimirovich dynasty and achieving independence once again. This dynasty is going to rule Croatia for 3 centuries. He defeated the Bulgarians and he built a Benedictine monastery. Remember, the Benedictines were the first religious order. So this is very important what we have here. He ruled independently, despite being formally a vassal of the Frankish emperor. Why is this? We're going to see it in a few images. Why he could rule independently. Under Terpimir, in those years, Saint Cyrus and Methodius developed a Glagolitic alphabet. The Glagolitic alphabet, you see it here, is based on Greek. This is the most ancient alphabet in Slavic languages. It's based the Cyril, not the Glagolitic, the Cyril, the ones that used by the Greeks and by the Eastern Europes, is based on the Greek, with some characters of the Glagolitic, but the Glagolitic was previous. Where was this Bashka sound? Here in Kerk. We're going to see Kerk has several findings, several very important findings in history of Croatia. In the year 877, Croatia is subjugated by Byzantines, but very few years later, you see, it always happens this, goes there and comes back. Branimir achieves renewed independence. The new state is recognized by Pope John, securing the place in Central Europe. And this is what I told minutes ago. Between the two great empires, the Frankish and the Byzantine. Why? Because neither the Frankish nor the Byzantines wanted to have a frontier, wanted to see one each other. They liked to have someone in the middle. They liked to have someone that was like a warrant, that they were not going to be invaded by the other ones. And that's facilitated that Branimir could act like an independent. He had, by this reason, the first recognition of the Croatian state. The recognitions, remember, were given by the United Nations. It was no other than the Pope. The Pope acted like United Nations in those moments. So Branimir is going to have the first recognition in the year 879, and during his times, both Venetians and Byzantines are going to pay taxes to the Croatian state for the passage of their ships along the eastern coast of the Adriatic. It's very interesting. So they were already getting strong. The year 925, Tomislav is going to be recognized like a first king of Croatia. There were no more a duchy, but a kingdom. Tomislav was very important. He repelled once again the Bulgarian attack. Remember, the Bulgarian Tsar was a really very strong place in those moments. He defeated the Hungarians, forcing them to get to the other side of the Drava River. And he united the duchies of Pannonia and Dalmatia, so united the coast and the interior of the country. Here you have a sculpture, it's a Equestrian monument in Zagreb, very known. So we arrived to the point that Croatia became one of the most powerful kingdoms in Europe. An army of over 100,000 infantry, incredible. 60,000 cavalry, also incredible, and 108 warships. Nothing to be I don't know, not taken, nothing to be not considered. Really was a very important kingdom. Here you see the frontiers. Here you see it in always I put these drawings of my daughter. He helped me in my small book, Brief History of Croatia, written in Spanish and published in Venezuela. And here you have all these were the territories of the Kingdom of Croatia on the 10th century. And we arrived to this moment in the 10th century, where it is the first coat of arms of Croatia. But this is the starting of the next chapter. So hope to see you soon on chapter 3. Thank you very much for your attention.